Hi everyone. So if you're tuning in now, you likely listened to the B moment about challenging the status quo. If by chance you missed it, you can always visit bmoments.org. But right now, I'm inviting you to be in the moment with me. And of course, if it's Wednesday, I'm in this car. I promise you I'm going to find another spot for us. But this just feels like, it's just you and me in this car. And I can let my hair down and tell you what I really think. So when I talk about the status quo and challenging it, what I'm really saying is challenging the existing state of affairs. And there are two primary reasons we tend to avoid that. The first is sometimes we just forget who has the ultimate authority over our lives. In other words, we say, well, if I take this action, I may not be protected. And I'm not arguing the point that we don't need to think through challenging the status quo, but I think largely we just forget who's over our lives. And when I think about Christ, and he turned over those tables in the temple because it had become more of a marketplace than a house of worship, he knew who had the ultimate authority over his life. Same is true for Peter. Peter healed this lame man, 5,000 people turned to Christ. And he proclaimed at that time that it was the power of Christ through him that caused him to heal the lame man. The religious leaders of the day called him in before the council. One wrong statement, and Peter could have had his life taken. But he boldly confronted that council and he told them, hey, listen, and I guess what Peter might have been feeling too is that, look, I denied Christ once. I'm not about to do it again. I healed this man, but it was only through the power of Christ. So he too understood who ultimately had authority over his life. I think the second reason we avoid it is just we fear the personal cost that we might pay. And like I said, we do have to be mindful of that. You don't just walk into your job and start challenging your managers and expect, possibly not to pay some price or experience some consequence. I think I'm thinking about it larger in terms of society. A good example is the young lady who came forward yesterday. She spoke to the UN on the climate issues that we're having. And she said, look, people are dying, our ecosystems are collapsing, and, you folks are worried about money and just this eternal economic growth. You got to put it in perspective. She was probably the youngest person in the House. She brought it down because she's challenging people to get them on track to do what is right. She is speaking her truth. And so today, part of my truth, and being in the moment, I will delve into those areas that are impacting our lives and things that we hear about in the news. And today is a pivotal day, I think, for lawmakers because we have, and I think, very few would refute that we unfortunately have an unlawful president at this time in Donald Trump, and just the things that have come out about him in this whole Ukraine effort. We're not going to go into the weeds about that, but I think there are congressmen on both sides of the aisle who are fearing. I think there are Democrats in red districts who are fearing to speak up and say the truth of what they believe should be done because they're fearing their own personal reelection. The same is true for the right. They're also fearing not being reelected or having someone run a primary against them. So what I am saying to our lawmakers today, I am challenging you to do the right thing. And if any of you are people of faith, realize who has the ultimate authority over your life. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it at that because I tell you, we're talking politics. I could go on and on, but I'm going to zip my lips and say, love you guys. Have a beautiful week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.